Hey,
Hello
hey.
everyone.
How are you, Sabrina?
Good. I hope you are well as well. And you had a nice Easter break. Did you have a nice Easter break, Jason?
Absolutely, absolutely. Got some nice recharging done. Got to the beach actually. So, yeah,
Oh,
the perks of living in Spain.
yeah.
But yeah, all good, all good, and happy to get back here and be doing the 20-minute Eventprofs marketing live. And we're back online. We missed last week, but
Yes,
we're getting back into it this week. So every Wednesday, here we are at 12, streaming to usually LinkedIn as well on YouTube. And
that's right.
today, we decided that we were going to talk about digital branding for new businesses. There has been a huge surge in the number of new businesses that are being started. Obviously,
Mhm.
a lot of businesses have had to close, or it's been a tough year. But
Yeah.
that's also creating a lot of new opportunities. In fact, in the United States, I believe last year alone there was something like 85,000 new businesses started. I know the UK is seeing a huge surge in new businesses. So, Sabrina and I
Absolutely.
thought that part of a new business is your branding, and part of your branding is your digital branding. So,
That's
we
right.
thought we'd kind of dive into that over the next few weeks and talk about specific aspects of digital branding. So, let's jump into it.
Yeah.
We got 20 minutes, right?
We
We
got
uh,
20 minutes.
we put a time limit on ourselves. Why don't you kick it off by what is digital branding? How is that defined?
Great question, Jason. What is digital branding? So, one of the definitions that really resonated with both me and Jason, and it's a very simple definition that we found on the web, is that digital branding is a technique that leverages the power of the internet and digital mediums to develop a brand, the specific identity or image of a company, which is what a brand is. And it empowers businesses to spread their reach across several platforms and generate a constant flow of leads. So that is our kind of definition that we're going
Mm-hmm.
with for what digital branding is.
It's really nice. Yep. Yeah, 100%. And I mean, branding is a very, very important part of a business as well as an individual now, as you and I both know, and we try to promote the
Yes.
personal branding and visibility online. Now, branding can be it's a massive topic, and there's all kinds of branding. Obviously, the foundation of your brand is your product and your service, right? So,
Correct. Exactly.
what is your value proposition? And that's obviously when you're starting a new business is an incredibly important part of the business is what are you selling.
Yes.
However, today what we're talking about is the digital side specifically,
Yeah.
and happy to talk about the others too. DM us if you want to have a discussion about branding in general, but we're going to focus on digital branding today and over the next coming weeks. So, um, digital branding, what can we define are some of the aspects or some of the, let's say, the features or pillars of a digital brand?
All right. So, do you want to give me what the top 10 components are when we're talking about digital branding? How do you break it down, Jason? Let
Sure.
everyone
So
know.
let's see. We can do this together. All right. So
Okay, cool.
let's start with probably the thing everybody seems to start with when they talk about branding is their logo, right? Everybody's
Yes.
obsessed with their logo. And obviously, that's an important part of a brand. It's not the whole thing. And I think sometimes people spend too much time on their logo.
Yeah.
But I think that's definitely one of the main factors of a digital brand is the logo. Also, the website, right?
That's right.
Where are people landing? Where does your information live online? The
What
brand
is your
message,
digital storefront?
your
Exactly.
storefront. Yeah, great. I love that. The brand message, SEO, social media, online advertising, content marketing, and influencer marketing. I think those are the ones that we agreed on.
Absolutely.
We probably missed a few, so in the
Brand message as
comments,
well. Absolutely. So if
yes.
if you think about, to anyone that's watching, I know Adam's joined us. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Adam.
Thank you for that. Yes, short, sharp approach. That's me and Jason, basically. We just cut to it. So thank you for appreciating that. But anyone that's watching and tuning in, whether it's the replay or you're watching us live, if you've got any questions or you want to kind of add to other things and important components that you think fall under the umbrella topic of digital branding, please do drop it in the comments, because we would love to know, and we'd love to be able to share it as well in the live if you're watching live. So yeah, those are kind of the areas that, you know, we definitely break down. It's the website, the logo, the brand message, the SEO, the social media, the online advertising, the content marketing, and to a great degree now, especially influencer marketing. But what we're going to touch on today, I guess, will be more to do with the aesthetics. Isn't that right, Jason? You know, it's a journey that I went through. It's a journey that you've gone through. I know this is obviously, if you look at our kind of surrounding frame that we have here for 20 Minutes Eventprofs Marketing Live, you'll see my logo at the corner, which is the little round logo with the lighthouse in the middle with Hot Hospitality Exchange. And then you'll see the Acomo brand name. And I know this is not how it looked like when we first started out.
Not at all. Yeah, not at all. Not at all. And I mean, I actually wrote a blog post a few years ago on our 10-year anniversary of the company, and kind of a walkthrough of what we looked like over the years. And I mean, I can tell you the very first, I mean, we even changed names halfway through. We weren't always Acomo. We were called Destination Global at the beginning. But the
I didn't know that.
yeah. So and that journey was really, I mean, we didn't get the branding right first, and that's okay. And I think that's kind of something I want to stress on a little bit. It's important. It requires good thought. It should have reasoning behind it, a real strategy behind it. If you can get some data for your decisions, that's great. But at the same time, I see so many people stopping their journey to do something because they're worried that the name is wrong. They're worried that the colors are wrong. They're worried that the brand is wrong. But I mean, my advice would be, in terms of your visual, do your best. If you can get some help and you can afford some professional help, do it. Or if you have a friend, do that too. But don't let it be a barrier to entry, because so many people freeze at this point and they never actually get anything off the ground. And that's coming from my experience too. We took such a long time at the beginning to make something that we changed 6 or 7 times over the last 15 years. So
absolutely,
it's a big decision, but it's not the end.
And I think it also depends on what exactly your product or your service is. You know, that will define a lot of what you're going to call yourself and what the colors potentially might be. You know, with your company, Jason, you are providing a service. And, you know, I think the most important thing was that you have that pinned down first, you know, your value proposition. What are the services that you're going to be providing? What problems are they going to be solving? What is the value that you're going to be delivering? And then your pricing, and you kind of set all of that. And then based off of that framework and that skeleton, so to speak, is how you then envision what you want your brand to be. And you're absolutely right. I know a lot of businesses and a lot of people, you know, even me, for example, Hot Hospitality Exchange was something I dreamed up. I don't know how it came about. I knew I wanted the word, back then, hospitality in the title, because that kind of summed up me. But I also wanted it to be really catchy. And it was like a whole thought process behind it. And everyone goes through a different thought process. But at the end of the day, what's really, really important is, no matter where you start, whatever you call yourself or your company or your service, there has to be a link, right? There has to be a really clear link to what your product is, or what your service is, or what your industry is, because that is going to be the biggest guideline going forth in terms of how you're directing people's attention and your marketing efforts, you know, to your audience and potential clients. So, you know, if you are in the business of, let's see, if you are in the business of farming, calling yourself something to do with, you know, the earth and soil, or green, or agriculture, or even the word farming, or whatever is relevant. Throwing words that are completely unrelated might not necessarily work. It could, you know, it could be fun, you think. That could be quite cool. I could put in the, you know, the I don't know. I can't even come up with something right now that's completely different. Maybe
Something
you
about
throw
the
a,
internet for farming.
yeah, something about the
Yeah.
like the digital crop or
Yeah.
something, right?
Digital cropping.
The
Yeah.
digital
Sure.
crop, where digital cropping actually means something, right? Like when you're cropping pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas in your context of the word, crop could be crop,
Mhm.
like farming.
Yeah. Yeah.
But people might not necessarily get
Yeah.
that straight away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you have to be very on point about what your services are, what are you offering, what is your value proposition, and that's going to be a really good indicator of what you're going to call yourself, and then that will determine your logo.
Yeah. And just on the name too, kind of being a bit contrarian, like I totally agree that the name cannot confuse the client, right? Like,
Yeah.
so if you want to make sure that number one, it doesn't exist anywhere, do a lot of research, make sure that it doesn't exist. Check out the social handles too, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Make sure those are available, and make sure it's not going to confuse the client. But also, sometimes having a word that is kind of a blank slate, if you do the branding right, it can overcome that kind of confusion, not confusion, but maybe that the word you use isn't exactly related to your industry. So for example, I don't know, Nike at the beginning,
I was thinking
Nike.
Nike too, exactly
Okay,
when
yeah.
you said that. Yeah.
Nike, Apple, Google. There are examples of people that just used words that were catchy, unique, and the reason that they became brands is because of all the branding, which we'll talk about later, right?
Yeah.
So another option, I think definitely, if you can find a name that guides your client towards your service or product originally, it's a much easier branding journey that you have to do, and making sure that you're not going to contradict what they expect. But if you have some power in branding and you think you are capable of doing good branding, having a word that's kind of a blank slate can be good. I mean, Acomo, for example, we invented that word. It does have a story because our base comes from providing accommodation. So there is a connection there. However, exactly. That's the link I think that you were talking about, which, subconsciously it drives people to understand that. But it's also a word where it gave us a bit of a clean slate to play with as well. So it is an option. But then if you do that, you do have to get the branding really on point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree with that as well. And we do actually have a question from one of our viewers here on LinkedIn, who's asking, is podcast part of digital marketing? It can be. I think it can be. It is a medium in which that you can deliver a marketing message. So essentially, yes, and podcasts obviously live online. So, if you're in the space of digital, podcasts are definitely a medium through which you can market. So yes, the answer would be yes. Would you agree, Jason?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Podcast is definitely part of our digital marketing strategy. So, I mean, digital marketing is huge. It's huge. And there's so many ways to define it. So I would definitely put podcast as one of the channels or mediums, like you said, of getting your digital marketing message across for sure.
Yeah. And I think the takeaway that we want to kind of give everyone is, it's more important to pin down, it's more essential to pin down what you're offering and why, the purpose.
Yes.
Because that's going to set the intent for everything else that you're going to do that follows.
100%.
These are two of my favorite words. Jason would have heard this or heard me say this a million times. Purpose and intent are like my best friends. I literally should get necklaces with purpose and intent.
Should
like
change your company name.
I should just change it, like P&I, right? It's all about P&I. So I'm going to call it. But again, that's the link, right?
Yeah.
So, and this is, it's interesting because when it comes to the space of digital branding, sometimes we're not even talking about businesses. It's ourselves as well and how we brand ourselves online. Now, I've come to be known as Hot Hospitality Exchange, right? And it's something I've developed and built for a really long time. But given that, I've also kind of made sure that Sabrina Myers is always very closely connected to that. So I've not lost myself in the process. Hot Hospitality Exchange is the brand, and I am the face of the brand. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So it's very important to also be able to establish your personal online digital branding, because I think that is also essential. And that's something, that can only work in your favor if you do that. If you have a brand, I mean, look at Steve Jobs, look at Bill Gates, all of them have, not that I'm comparing myself to any of these magnates, but what I'm saying is, if you have a really powerful and solid standalone personal brand online, that can only support what you're building on after. And also, it is a wonderful, wonderful way, and we'll talk about this probably in one of the episodes to come. It's a wonderful way to really strengthen and empower your own employees of that business to become brand ambassadors and build their own personal brands in their own right, so that everyone that's marketing within that company or for your business, could be just the two of you, but if the both of you have really strong personal brands, that's going to accelerate your marketing and your sales efforts to a level that you never would have been able to do if it was just standalone for your brand, for example.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think we're entering the age of like the influencer CEO, so or the influencer director or the influencer employee, because at the end of the day, people they're more likely to listen to the message coming from a person than from a brand, unless you're like Wendy's, like the Wendy's Twitter account. You've got they've done an incredible job of that. But most companies, if you have individuals who are providing the message, it's much stronger. People like listening to people, to names. And going back to the branding that we were talking about before with you as an individual and Hot Hospitality as the company, we kind of did a similar exercise when we branded Acomo, which was one of the first steps we did was, obviously we knew our services, we knew the products, we knew what we were going to be providing, what the value proposition was. But then I created a list of questions to go through with the team, which was creating a brand persona. So we pretended that Acomo was a person. And we had to describe the person. We had to say, this is what Mr. or Mrs. Acomo is like. This is how Mr. or Mrs. Acomo answers the phone. Like we literally wrote down phrases about how they would sound like when they're speaking. These are the colors that they like. This is what she likes to eat. And really created this image of who is Acomo, and that really helps with the branding, because then you can be like, okay, well then these colors maybe fit this personality better. This type of design maybe fits this personality better. So
is this person shabby chic, or is this person professional and all luxury? Is this person friendly and approachable, or is this person quite conservative and serious? And a lot of that, absolutely, Jason, you're so right, and I love that, and I think that's an extremely important part of digital branding, the brand persona, because let's just put it simply, you don't have any legs to stand on except what you're putting out there in the digital space. So your brand persona is everything. It is what people see and understand and take in that very first moment. So that's why it's so important. I've got my son knocking on the door, so I'm just going to tell him to stay outside. Give me a second.
No worries.
I'm still on a call.
I love it. Yeah.
Do not come in. No.
He did pretty well, huh? We got to 19 and 30
he's
seconds.
Dropped off some food for me, so this is good. Close the door. I've got a Play-Doh meal sitting on the bed behind me. So for everyone, I love it. He did well. I kept him out as long as I could. But again,
this is a time
brand personas are a thing, and they're extremely, extremely important. And it's not just for businesses, it's also for individuals. It's what do you want that first, and this is where I think, you and me, Jason, we've talked about this in terms of profiles and bios. I think it's super important. Because if you don't, that's where you develop that brand persona, right? So when I land on your, say, Instagram bio or your LinkedIn bio, what is that snapshot of you that I get? What does that tell me?
Mhm.
And essentially that's crafted, like
Mhm.
you've said, by coming up with your brand persona.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
absolutely true. And
Yeah.
and we're going to have, an episode talking all about brand persona. What are the kinds of
Mhm.
questions you need to be asking?
Yeah.
What are kind of the areas that they drill down into?
Mhm.
Because I think that'll be super interesting for a lot of people who are, might not necessarily be starting a new business, but you might be thinking of rebranding. So
Right.
you might be thinking, oh, I want to do a new logo. I want to,
Mhm.
do a makeover. Given this pandemic, I want to
Yeah.
start fresh now when the
Mhm.
industry comes back, and I want to
Yeah. Yeah.
give my company a brand new, fresh look.
Yeah.
But you might not know exactly which direction you want to go. Now, there are
Mhm.
obviously professionals that do this.
Yeah.
They're called visual branding consultants.
Mhm.
That's something new I learned
Mhm.
this year, actually. And they can be quite expensive.
Mhm.
In all honesty, they can be. But there's lots of easier ways to do it. And so I
Mhm.
think this is kind of a good place to start.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the companies that are coming online, because a lot of them are coming online at the moment, the new ones. I mean, if I think they're being bootstrapped, I think they're people who have found themselves unemployed
Mhm.
and have said, well, with this time, I'm going to start a project, and that project has turned into a business, and I completely understand what it's like to have a bootstrap business. You don't have funding, you don't have
Mhm.
deep pockets, and there are time and financial efficient ways of
Mhm.
having a really nice brand that you can be proud of. And again, I think it's so important when starting a business. The most important thing is to do it. It's just to
Yeah,
like Nike. Let's get back to Nike. It's just do it.
just do it. Just do it.
And you can always continue to make these things. I can continue to kind of modify the colors. You can change the logo. At the end of the day, when you're this big, when you make a big change,
It
let's
doesn't
let's
have that
let's
much of a
be
ripple
honest.
effect. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, we've always been a small to medium-sized company, and we've changed our logo, I think, 4 times. And
Mhm.
every time we have, it's not like we're dealing with millions of clients and we have to get this message out to millions of people. I could almost literally call up everybody and explain to them what we're doing and why and the reasoning. So
Yes.
it's an
And a lot
important
of times it's
decision.
also, and a lot of times it's a great way to, or it's a great content piece as well,
Mhm. Sure.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
relaunching,
Yeah.
and this is what we're
Exactly.
doing. So newsletters going out, email marketing's going out.
Mm.
This is going to be what our, we want to invite you to a relaunch party. So
Yeah.
attend. We're going to, drop that, and you can see the new logo, and then all the branding is going to be new, and
Yeah.
so it's always exciting as well. And so many known companies have done it, and
Yeah.
we're saying that just start.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Don't get stuck at that point.
Exactly.
Know what the skeleton is, what the main parts of the business are, the services, the products, your brand message.
Mhm.
And that will help you to then develop, and
Yeah.
your company branding will change. Know
Yeah.
that. Know
Yeah.
that it will change. It will
Yeah.
never stay constant. I
Yeah.
mean, if
And it
you
should.
do research, yeah, if you do research on Apple and Nike, as we've mentioned,
Mm.
their logos didn't look like this
Mm.
when they first started. So
Mhm.
I think it's super interesting to know that it's just about starting, and it's evolution. And
Yeah.
eventually, you'll keep evolving,
Yep.
and your brand will keep evolving.
Yep.
So on that note, I've got a 7-year-old shouting that he's hungry
No
behind
worries.
me.
No
So
worries. No worries. It's
um,
this is important. I have kids. I know what a hungry kid does or is capable of doing, so you should probably take
absolutely,
care of that.
I will.
But
Absolutely.
before you jump off, if anybody's watching this or will re-watch it, it's this side, right?
Yeah.
Then let us know which one you would be more interested in hearing. Because next week we're going to talk more about digital branding. The idea is to
Yes.
help you get a strong digital brand for your new business or existing business. So let us know what you're more interested in. We've talked about social media, SEO.
Mhm.
Online advertising, content marketing, influencer marketing,
Brand
website,
message, brand
logo,
persona.
exactly. So let us know what you would be interested in hearing about. We'll try to speak about one of those topics per week to give you
Mhm.
some good advice. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone,
Cool.
for joining me and Jason. We will not be going on to Clubhouse today after this, but watch the replay most definitely. Drop your comments, feedback, questions, everything into the comments below. And then stay tuned. We're going to be back next week, same time, same place. And we look forward to delving deeper into the world of digital branding. So
Cool.
Take care, everyone. Good to see you again, Jason.
Okay.
See
You
next
too,
week.
Sabrina. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Have a nice lunch.